Hello, readers, and welcome back to Reading in the Middle, your go-to podcast for middle grade picture books and the people who bring them to life. I'm your host, Annisha Jeffries. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking with Megan McDonald, New York Times bestselling author whose work has delighted young readers for decades. Her beloved series like Judy Moody and Stink have sold millions of copies around the world and have earned prestigious accolades, including the inaugural Beverly Cleary Children's Choice Award. Bravo! She also expanded her writing into magical early chapter worlds with the Fairy Door Diaries series. And today we'll be talking about her brand new adventure, Bunny and Clyde on the Lam, Book 2 in the Bunny and Clyde series. So mark your calendars. Bunny and Clyde on the Lam releases on February 3rd, 2026. Whether you're a librarian, teacher, parent, or young reader gearing up for your next favorite read, you're in for a ride. Megan, it's an honor to have you on Reading in the Middle. Well, hi Megan. Welcome to Reading in the Middle. How are you today?
I'm well. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be talking about books today.
Too. Now, how's your day been so far? Or what are you doing today before the interview?
I live on the West Coast in California, so it's still early for me. So mostly I've had a little walk, a little breakfast, and a little bit of editing self-editing one of my books.
That's fun. And I bet that's great too, doing.
Yeah.
Now, before we mention your new book, because it comes out next year, but I want to mention the title, Bunny and Clyde on the Lam. I love that. And we're going to talk about
was.
Isn't that the coolest? I just, first of all, for those young people out there, it's like a pun like Bonnie and Clyde, which is one of my favorite movies.
I grew up with that movie. Yeah.
Yes, I just enjoy it. And so I saw that and I just got tickled pink with that. And also we're, talking about your signature series, Judy Moody, Stink, Fairy Door Diaries. So, but before we get into all of that, your upbringing as the youngest of 4 sisters in Pittsburgh. How did that shape you as a storyteller?
It had so much to do with my storytelling. First of all, I have 4 older sisters, so I'm the youngest. And I was just emphasizing that I'm like Stink is to Judy Moody. She's the big sister and he's the little one. So with 4 older sisters, you can imagine there were always antics and adventures going on. So Judy Moody actually started because I had so many stories I wanted to tell that had happened in my family with my sisters. And, but also my dad was a bridge builder. He was an iron worker in Pittsburgh. And he had he wouldn't come home until after dark. And so my mom would wait dinner for him and we would all gather around this big round table. And my dad was a storyteller. And he would, even after this long day of physical work, he would come home and he'd always have a story for us. So I sort of grew up in that tradition of just telling and hearing stories around the kitchen table.
Isn't it great when you have that in your family where you hear those stories and, those resonate so much. Even when you're a little kid, you listen to them, but then as you get older, you remember them and how, like, wow, it's just
exactly
a great experience.
Yeah, because sometimes when I do writing with kids, they say, I don't have any ideas or nothing ever happened to me. And they don't realize yet that it's in the everyday, it's in the little moments that happen. It doesn't have to be, a big, gigantic event. It's just in those everyday little interactions. And with so many sisters, there were a lot of sibling dynamics. So that became part of the Judy Moody and Stink books as well. You know, their sibling dynamics. One of my favorite scenes in a Judy Moody book is kids, readers kept writing to me and saying, so Judy has a best friend, Rocky, and they kept saying, can Judy and Rocky get in a fight and then make up? And I realized that is so much their experience where, you know, they have a disagreement with a friend and a falling out, and then they figure out how to come back together. So I remember when one of us would be mad at another sister, we'd say, I'm not going to talk to you for a week, you know? Well, then we'd get another sister and we'd talk through them. So we would say, tell Michelle that I said blah, blah, blah. And then Michelle would tell that sister, tell her that I said. So I have a whole scene where Judy and Rocky aren't speaking, but they use Stink as the middleman. And they keep making Stink tell the other one what they want to say until they finally work it out and make up. But it's so much fun to capture those just everyday ubiquitous dynamics that we all have experienced.
Absolutely. And, you know, before we started recording this session, we talked about going to the University of Pittsburgh as librarians. And I want to know how your librarian experience influenced your writing for young readers.
Well,
before becoming a full-time.
Exactly. So before I wrote full-time, I was working as a children's librarian at public libraries. And that also is probably the single most thing that shaped me as a writer, besides what we talked about with childhood and growing up in a tradition of storytelling, because well, first of all, you're surrounded by books, you're surrounded by kids, and you get to read aloud and tell stories to kids. But also, it's so much about the importance of reading and wanting to share that. When I was growing up, we didn't have a branch of the public library. We had the Carnegie Library, you know, was maybe a half hour away in Pittsburgh, but I grew up in a suburb, and so we didn't have a branch yet, and we had the bookmobile. So this big green truck would roll up to the parking lot of the shopping center, and my sisters and I would all pile on. And one summer we had the idea we were going to try to read all the books on the bookmobile that summer, all the children's books. Well, I didn't know till I grew up and became a librarian. Guess what? The bookmobile goes back to the library and they load more books on the truck, right? So we were never going to read all the books because there were always more books. So I grew up with that love of reading, which led me to even go to library school and want to become a librarian. And then actually there's a direct connection because my first book, which has been reissued now with beautiful new illustrations, but it's a picture book called Is This a House for Hermit Crab? And that book grew out of a story that I told aloud when I was a children's librarian. Somebody gave me puppets of a hermit crab and a fish, and I wanted to find a story. And there just weren't any books about a hermit crab back then. So I made up this story, and it had a lot of repetition and a lot of sounds, and I got the kids to do it with me. And after I told the story at story time, the parents all came up and they said, you always put the book out so we can check out the book you're reading. Where's the book? And I'm like, oh, no, there's no book. I just made that up, you know. And then they were all saying, oh, it should be a book. And that kind of planted the seed. So really from being a children's librarian and just steeping myself in story, that was how that first book came about.
Oh, that is a wonderful story. And you're right. I mean, we're surrounded by books as librarians every day. And no offense to anyone, but when I see certain, entertainers write books and stuff. I'm like, wait a second. Maybe I can do this too.
We all have stories in us, I think. So
we do. Yes, I agree. Thank you. That's much better. But you said before that before you were a writer, you were a reader. And how does that reading identity show up in your work?
Well, the connection between reading and writing is so strong because if you grow up reading, then without even knowing it, it schools you in how a book is written in a way. So you kind of intuit all sorts of things like pacing and beginning, middle, and ends, and just a lot of things about how a story is made and what makes a good story. By being a reader, you're always thinking, do I love this book? Do I think this could have been better? So you're always thinking about books and thinking about reading. And so I think it was really important that I had that experience of being a reader first. And that's what I want for kids today. I know there's so much competition with all of our screens, but I just feel like nothing replaces that. Just that wonderful camaraderie of curling up with a good book.
There's nothing like it. I mean, if the power goes out, oh well, if your battery's on, oh well, but you'll always have that book, and
I love when the power goes out because that's when people go back to books, right? And board games.
Right.
The flashlight and there's no electronics. So I've had so many parents tell me they discovered Judy Moody and Stink during a blackout or a power outage.
Oh.
And so I have a whole book with Judy and Stink where the power goes out and they just tell stories. And Grandma Lou comes over and she tells her stories.
I see. And that's what I'm saying. I would say candlelight, but we don't want to have candles. But, you can have lanterns or, like you mentioned, flashlights.
Right.
To read.
In the old days, we had the candles in the tuna fish can, so that it wouldn't spill over or anything. I'm really dating myself here.
Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. I remember that, too. My grandmother had those. So, no, you're not dating yourself.
But I love to... because I'm a reader, I love to sort of sneak into my book. If you look at my body of work, you'll see a lot of storylines that have to do with going to the library or the bookshop or, something to do. I mean, there's a whole Judy Moody book about the book quiz whiz where she and Stink and some of their friends, are in a contest where they have to answer all the questions about the books. And in Bunny and Clyde want to learn they're always good and they want to learn how to be bad. So where do they go? The library. And I had so much fun with that because they go up to the librarian and they say, where are the bad books? And the librarian says, well, I like to think we only have good books in the library. So I had a lot of fun playing with the library jokes in that one.
I can actually tell that you had tons of fun with that. And I always have to applaud authors that, mention libraries because, as you know, people think that libraries are dying or we don't need them because we have computers and, cell phones and iPads, but nothing takes the place of a library. And the library is more than just that. It's a community.
It's community. Exactly.
And we want our young people to know that.
Yes.
To continue to support it. So it's always good to put that into your writing so they'll never forget.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, before the internet, I had to rely so much on the library because even with the Judy Moody book, so much research, if she's going to save an endangered species, I have to look up what creature would be endangered in Virginia where she lives, and what, I need to know about that. And in the old days, I had to go to the library and drive the librarians crazy. So, but I'll tell you what, nothing replaces having that human contact and having another person who I still go to the library for those things often, because it's just another person who has ideas also that can help you. So,
Yeah, well, let me just say this. You wouldn't not, I don't think you were driving the librarians crazy. We're here to help. We're here we're always here to help no matter what and get that information. That's our job. So
that's true. And I guess I'm thinking of some times where, like, I have a book that's about a particular bird that was like a weaver bird, and it was really hard to find. But I think librarians were curious, and we like a challenge too.
Yes, we do.
So it's kind of fun in a way to have somebody else help you dive into your research.
Yes, I love it. And I'm always curious. I always call myself a nosy snooper. So I like to just dig in.
Exactly.
It's important. It's fun.
Well, when I finished library school, the first day on the job, I worked at the Carnegie Public Library in Pittsburgh. And the first day on the job, the librarian, an old school librarian, said to me, "Do you like crossword puzzles?" And I said, "Well, actually, yes. I love crossword puzzles. I do them all the time." And she goes, "You're going to do fine here." And I just thought that was such a good, it was such a funny way, but a good way of saying, if you like puzzles and trying to solve something and thinking about it, you'll be, you'll fit into the library environment.
That's perfect. Yes, and it's true. I want to talk to you about Judy Moody and Stink, because Judy Moody, your series, Judy Moody, like I told you, it's super popular here at the Cleveland Public Library. It has become a phenomenon. How did Judy's voice develop, and what were you thinking when you created her?
Well, it started as really going back to my sisters, a collection of stories, just funny little short vignettes, kind of episodes. And if you read the book, it is very episodic. But I started out with about 20 or so of these just short little stories, and I didn't know what to do with them or how to put them together or what they would become. And I went to a conference where I was speaking. I was talking to an editor, and she said, "Well, just send them to me and I'll see, what I think." So I sent her the stories, and she immediately said, "Okay, this could be a short chapter book for kids. And if you could think of an overarching theme that would tie all these episodes together." So I had been visiting a third grade classroom at the time, and they were all making a collage about themselves, like with pictures of their family and their pets and what they did, over their breaks. And so I came up with the me collage, and the idea of making Judy's making this whole collage all about herself, and she has to include all of these things, like the funniest thing that ever happened to her, the worst thing that ever happened. And then that way I was able to weave in all of these stories. However, I had so many stories. The first book came out like as long as a Harry Potter novel, So we literally had to cut the book about in half. But then, of course, I had all this other material that we hadn't used in book one. So then my editor said, "Well, you have so many stories. What do you think about writing another one?" So we didn't start out thinking it was going to be a series. We just started out with story and kind of went from there with each book. So as long as I just keep writing Judy Moody, as long as I have ideas for her. And of course, really kids that age, well, I think we all do. I love a series too. I like to read mysteries, and I can't wait, for the next one to come. And so I think kids really love that, because you get to know Judy and Stink. You get to know characters, and then you want to revisit them and know more about them and spend time with them, so you want the next one too. And it's kind of the familiarity, I think, that is, it's comfortable. You don't have to start all over again each time in a way.
No, and they're like, they're like your friends,
Exactly.
It's like a friend. You're like your friends, and with Stink getting his own series.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Again, that actually came from my readers because I didn't plan to write books about Stink. I love the character Stink since he's the youngest because that's like my own life. So I relate to that more than to being the big sister. But I went to visit a school in Vancouver, and the second graders all came into the library, and I noticed all the boys looked similar. Like they all had their hair spiked up and they were wearing these big oversized t-shirts. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we're Stink. We dress like Stink. And we came today to tell you we love Stink and we think Stink should have his own book. And I thought that was so much fun. So I was telling my editor that experience, and she goes, well, what do you think about that? What if we did do a book about Stink? So that was really fun that it organically came up from my own readers.
That really, I mean, they really like embraced Stink so much that they wanted him to have his own, they want to give him a limelight too. So
exactly. And have his voice be the center, not just Judy. Judy tends to fill a room, so she can take over. So yes. I wanted Stink to have his chance in the limelight.
Now, how does his world differ from Judy's?
Well, the family life, of course, is very similar. So the sibling dynamics are all still there. But his friends are different. He has a different cast of best friends and a different teacher, and also the school experience and the adventures he gets in with his friends. And in the Judy book, Stink is kind of the little brother that's always tagging along and wants to do what Judy and her friends are doing. But in the Stink books, Judy is kind of, it's sort of like, hey, I'm with my friends now, so you go back and do something else. Go to your room, So it's fun to play around with those dynamics as well. And then some of the books that are in full color, those feature Judy and Stink equally, like the Big Bag Blackout that I was talking about. And they don't bring the friends in as much. They center on Judy and Stink together in an adventure. Like if the family goes on a vacation and does a treasure hunt on an island or something.
Oh, you know what you should do? You should have them, oh my gosh, now I'm drawing a blank, but though geocaching, you should have them go on.
Yeah.
Oh, so
yes, I love geocaching.
That would be
so for a while, but I used to be really obsessed with it.
Me too. I was so obsessed. Right in downtown Cleveland, they had a lot of them. So I was like, on my lunch break, I would go, or even if I was like on my vacation, I would go downtown and look it up. And so it's so much fun.
It's so much fun. And you get to know a place that way too.
You learn a lot. There's some history in there. So, so I'm just letting you know, maybe Judy and Stink might do that.
Okay, I'm writing this down.
That would be so much fun. Wouldn't that be cool? And you can hide some things,
Yeah.
because you're in California, right?
Right.
So so you can just let them know, like, there's some things hidden, places that they could go. Just an idea.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, Megan, what core message do you hope children take from Judy and Stink books? Because you have so much in there. You have themes of self-identity and moods and siblings. And I think these young people, they I don't think, but they can relate to that a lot. But what do you want them to really take from
those books when they're reading. And first of all, they're going to have some fun. They're going to laugh. They're going to laugh.
Well, I think the humor is such an important part because, I think some of the popularity of Judy and Stink is that they seem real and they're very relatable, and kids can identify because Judy is certainly not perfect and she has a lot of moods, good times, bad times, ups and downs, as we all do. And so I think kids, it's a comfort to read about a character who reflects how it really feels to them. Many kids feel like Judy Moody is real. I've had kids disappointed that she didn't come to my book signing, so I know. But I think the humor is so important because it shows kind of a resilience. So when Judy has a really bad day or something happens that she doesn't feel good about herself and how she handled something, or something like she doesn't win the Band-Aid contest, some big disappointment, how does she deal with that? And I think it's so important for kids to see that if you can have a sense of humor about some of these things, it really, really helps to not take it so hard and to kind of lift yourself up out of it. So actually, one of my favorite Judy Moody books is Judy Moody Mood Martian, because in that book, Judy decides she's going to try to be in a good mood for one whole week. And I love that book because it turned the whole mood thing on its head, and she's trying to be in a good mood, and it's hard for her. I think for a lot of kids, that's hard. A week doesn't seem that long, but it can be. And so she tries to find ways to deal with the bad moods that come up because she wants to reach this goal of one whole week. And of course, her friends think she's an alien and they give her, an alien test because they're like, where's Judy and what have you done with her?
That is something that, maybe kids could try, and adults too. I know I'm guilty. I should do that, like just 1 week. And I think that would be a positive thing.
Yeah. And she discovers finger knitting, where you don't need needles, you just wind it around your fingers and make a chain, and the chain gets longer and longer and longer. Starts taking over the house because she's trying to find something to channel the energy into. So I think for me, those emotional messages are the important ones. And I love to fill the books with a lot of facts and science and art and all sorts of things, but I still think that emotional layer is the most important to me. And but it's so thrilling. I just had a letter yesterday from a young girl, second grade. So in the Judy Moody books, she wants to become a doctor, and she admires Elizabeth Blackwell, who was the first woman to go to medical school and become a doctor in this country. And the little girl was so inspired by this. They were on vacation somewhere in New York, and she said to her mother, can we go find the Elizabeth Blackwell statue? And they went to a college campus. She was so thrilled because Judy Moody goes to college in one of the books. She got to go to college. And then she sent me a photo of her standing next to the Elizabeth Blackwell statue.
Nice.
And, I know. It's so much fun because sometimes I just throw these things in and I don't know where it's going to go. But it's so touching for me when I find out that that's been inspiring to a reader.
And that's, I'm at a loss for words because that would be so emotional for me, knowing that, you're at home, you're writing these books, and they are making a difference in these young people's lives, that they really, your words are really magical, that really magical to, want them to investigate or want them to know more and learn more. And that's powerful. And bravo, Megan, because and she sent you that photo, so it's just, it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's...
It's really true, because I don't always, that's why I love getting to talk with kids, but I also love getting these fan mail, because then, somebody has really taken the time. A second grader, it's kind of hard for them to write a whole letter and really take the time to say what the books mean to them and send me a photo. That part I just will never get tired of.
I bet. And now I'm going to talk to you about your new and up and coming book, which it doesn't come out, listeners, excuse me, until 2026. And I believe it's January 2026.
Yeah, right after Christmas. Yeah.
Yes. And it's, like we mentioned before, Bunny and Clyde on the Lam. It's illustrated by Scott Nash. And it's just a wild ride. And I want to know what sparked the idea for Bunny and Clyde Misadventures on the Lam.
Well, Bunny and Clyde, the first book of Bunny and Clyde really started with the names. I just thought those names would be funny. And like you, I grew up with the movie of Bonnie and Clyde and hearing about Bonnie and Clyde. Kids don't really know about them today, but it doesn't matter, because it's just the idea of some outlaws,
Right.
So in the first book, it's really just that sense of they're always good and they always do everything they're told and follow all the rules, and they go to bed on time, they return their library books on time, they compost their apple cores, and then they decide, oh, what would it be like to be bad? Then I mentioned they go to the library to try to find out. Well, then they try things like a prank or something that would be bad, but everything they try, for example, like one night they put some toilet paper on the neighbor's rose bush. Well, it turns out it's the first frost and it ends up protecting the roses. So everything they try to be bad, it's not good. And they're like, oh, my God. So in the second book, I wanted to switch it up. So in Bunny and Clyde on the Lam, I decided that because they had this reputation in the first book of, like being bad, a neighbor calls them two bad bunnies, and Clyde says, instead of being insulted, they're being called bad. Clyde says, I'm not a bunny, I'm a chipmunk, So,
yeah, we have to make that clear, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So in the second book, their friend Thornton, who is a possum, and possums have like 50 teeth, he loses one of his teeth, and Bunny and Clyde convince him to put it under his pillow and wait for they tell him about the tooth fairy, and that the tooth fairy will come and will leave a quarter or, money under your pillow. And so he does it, and he actually gets a coin. Well, then the tooth funny money goes missing. And of course, all paws point to Bunny and Clyde. They think, well, they're the ones who told us about this, and they wanted the tooth fairy money, and they love penny candy, so they always need money. So the friends in the neighborhood in Dogwood Circle become convinced that Bunny and Clyde have taken the tooth fairy money. So, of course, they have to go on the run, which is on the Lam.
Yes.
And so I remembered a little bit from the story of Bonnie and Clyde, who were bank robbers, right? So they had to hide. They spent most of their time just hiding out. And I thought, well, where did they hide out? And I was looking up other outlaws like Jesse James and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I thought, where were their hideouts, right? Well, they hid out in flower shops. They hid out in, an old garage. Well, Bonnie and Clyde, for a long time, hid out in an abandoned amusement park. And I just love that image. And I thought, okay, this is where Bonnie and Clyde are headed, right? So they get a book from the library about outlaws, and they stop at a barn and go in the hayloft when it's raining, and they read about these outlaws, and they find out about the abandoned amusement park. So they decide that's where they're going to go hide out. And Scott Nash is just a brilliant illustrator. And
Yes.
I think I drove him a little crazy because he thought, how am I going to draw all this? But those are my favorite pictures in the book because he shows them hiding, the teacup ride with the giant teacups.
Mm-hmm.
He shows them hiding out in the teacup, in the abandoned teacups. And in Pittsburgh, where I grew up, we used to go to this amusement park called Westview, and it had like the old wooden roller coaster and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And after it shut down, it's always so interesting because it's like the day it shuts down, everything just gets frozen in time. So if somebody lost their shoe that day, you see an old sneaker there, or you see like maybe the clown fell off the ride, but you still see the clown's head or something. So I thought this is going to be so much fun to draw. Well, then, of course, their friends are on the trail and their friends get a whiff of them. So they decide to go into the Hall of Mirrors. And
I see. It's so funny.
I just love that because then they don't look like themselves. They're either way too tall or way too wide. And suddenly, one of the mirrors, there are like 1,000 different Clydes, and it scares the friends. So that's how they get away. And so then there's more adventures of them on the run. Their tandem bicycle is their getaway car, but in the end, they're caught by the friends, and the friends put them in their treehouse and take the ladder away. But, they're innocent this whole time. So their only choice is, yep, there's the treehouse. And their only real choice is we have to figure out who really took the Tooth Fairy money, because that's the only way that we are going to convince them we're innocent. So I won't give away.
Don't give away. Yep, I already know who culprit is. Because listeners, you are in for a ride. It's just so much fun, and it's up to you to figure out who took that money, right?
Yeah, it's really fun. And I was so surprised. I mean, I have a history of writing funny books with Judy Moody, but the first time I read Bonnie and Clyde to a classroom of third graders, they were laughing. So I was supposed to have 5 minutes to read. They were laughing so hard. It was like, I don't even know if I've experienced that with Judy Moody. And they kept going, they're good. No, they're bad. No, they're good. And they just wanted me to keep reading. So that was really, really fun.
Oh, that is fun, especially hearing that from kids, to keep reading. Yeah, that's a beautiful sound. That's a beautiful sound.
Exactly. The bell was about to ring, but they still wanted to hear more chapters.
I love that. I love that. Now, Megan, for teachers, librarians, and parents using your books, what discussion questions or activities would you suggest to engage kids with the story?
Well, there is a new, I think it's the Megan McDonald newsletter or something, but a teacher and my publisher, people from my publisher put this together. And every time there's a new, say, Judy Moody book, they come out with all kinds of activities. So I'm not a teacher per se, but so I don't know exactly how everything ties in with like STEM activities or something, but it's brilliant because it gives teachers all these ideas of how to use the book in the classroom. So tell teachers to look for that and sign up for the newsletter, and they'll have lots of ideas.
And librarians too.
And librarians. Exactly.
Absolutely. Now, Megan, you said you listened to this podcast, so you know what's coming up next, right?
Oh.
This is our lightning round. This is our lightning round with fun questions. And, I'll be firing off some quick, fun questions for you. You just, whatever comes to the top of your head, you just answer them. Are you ready?
Okay. I'll try.
Oh,
Same.
of course. Okay, so here we go. The first book you ever fell in love with?
Harriet the Spy.
Oh, yes. If you had to pick one of your characters to be for a day, Judy Moody, Stink, Bunny, or Clyde, would it be?
Oh, wow. I think I would be Judy. I relate to Stink more, but it's kind of fun to step out of yourself and get to be like the bossy big sister when it's different from real life. So I would probably be Judy Moody. I have the messy hair and I like to collect stuff. So I already have some of those qualities going for me.
Excellent. A writing snack or a writing mood, what gets you in the flow?
Did you say a writing snack?
Or writing.
Oh.
What gets you in the flow?
Okay. Well, I have to tell the truth. I would like to say carrot sticks or something healthy. But the truth is, I like popcorn and a glass of chocolate milk. So I'm obsessed with chocolate milk. It's so good.
It
takes me back to childhood. So just there's something about it that, when we were kids, we had those. We'd go to the cafeteria and have to carry the milk cartons back, and they had chocolate milk and white milk, and we always fought over the chocolate milks.
And they were ice cold too. You would
yes.
And they were ice cold. Oh, just thinking about that. Yes.
It was such a big deal because you had to get out of class a little bit and you felt so responsible to go to the cafeteria and be carrying the crate back. So, so that's my writing snack that inspires me.
Nice. Chocolate milk and popcorn. One word you hope readers feel after finishing your book.
Inspired.
Very good.
Inspired to read more, inspired to write their own stories, anything.
Inspired to find out who took that coin.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it. One word you hope. Oh, well, I'm sorry. If you gave your younger writer self one piece of advice in 12 words or fewer, what would it be?
Let's see, 12 words. Read. Really, my best advice to anybody who wants to write, including my younger self, would to read, because I think that is the best path to becoming a writer. And just wanting to be, I think from reading it, at least for me, it made me want to try to write my own story.
I agree. Reading, it does help you. You're learning new words all the time, and it extends your vocabulary. I'm saying a lot, but
sometimes I fight to keep words like I have the word hooligans in the Bunny and Clyde book, and
I love that.
A little friend who's in second grade, she got in trouble in class and she told the teacher, well, it wasn't me, it was those hooligans. So kids actually, they get it. Even though that's a long word, they learn what it is, and they are able to, shenanigans is another word that's my favorite. So
I love that too. I love shenanigans.
Yeah.
I like Hullabaloo.
Hullabaloo is a good
I
one.
love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love anytime I can say those words, I will do that. I love that. Now, if you could imagine a crossover, say Judy Moody meeting Bunny and Clyde or stepping through a fairy door, what might it look like?
Oh, that's so interesting. Well, I think if Judy Moody met Bunny and Clyde, they would all end up at the penny candy store by way of the library. So they'd get their food for their mind first, and then they'd go get some penny candy and share that. But if Judy went through the fairy door, the first fairy door adventure, when Eliza of the Elves goes through the door, she meets all of these flower fairies. But the second one that's coming up is about hobgoblins, and hobgoblins are mischievous. They're like little tiny elves, but they're very tricky and very mischievous. And they get into they're from the other side of the door, but they get into her room and wreak havoc. And I could see that happening with Judy Moody. And then she could explain her messy room to her mother by saying that the hobgoblins did it. It wasn't her. It was those hooligans.
Yeah, those hooligans. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. So, and I know Bunny and Clyde is the novel that's coming out, but do you have anything else in the works that you can mention to listeners?
Well, the next Fairy Door Diaries, I think, is coming the same time as Bunny and Clyde, or maybe a month later, is Eliza and the Hobgoblins. So we talked about that. And then right now I'm actually working on a brand new book that is not in any series or anything I've done so far. And all I can really tell, I don't want to give it away yet, so all I can really is it's about a very, very unusual class pet. And it's not what you think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm your skill.
Okay. Oh, good. I'm intrigued already. So where can listeners follow your work?
Probably my website. I'm just starting to update it because I let it lapse. So there is a meganmcdonald.net, but it's not up to date yet. So although I'm working on it, so readers and listeners could look for that. And
okay.
And probably the best is to follow Candlewick Press on social media because they're forums and they always announce new things.
Okay, that works.
You find out about other good books that way too.
You sure can.
It's been a pleasure. To all of our listeners, be sure to mark your calendars for Bunny and Clyde on the Lam Book 2 in the Bunny and Clyde series coming out on February 3rd, 2026. And don't forget to read Megan's other books as well. There's so much joy, humor, and giggles in those pages. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and rate, how you do, and share it with your fellow book lovers. Well, that's all for now. Thanks again. This has been Reading in the Middle. I'm Annisha Jeffries. Keep exploring, keep reading, and we'll see you next time.